This program is powered by AIM Employers Association and Ogletree Deacons, a Feature Group USA production.
Hello, everybody. I'm Phil Brandt, President and CEO of AIM Employers Association. Glassdoor's recent work-life trends report reveals a sharp rise in employee concerns. The term misalignment is up 149% in reviews about senior leadership and management. And more, employees are also citing distrust, hypocrisy, and miscommunication. If someone describes your leadership culture in one word, what would that be? All that and more in This Week at Work.
Welcome to This Week at Work, the only show to pack workplace news, practical HR solutions, and timely insights into every 30-minute episode. From the latest rulings in the courtroom to the strategies unfolding in the boardroom, and from real conversations taking place on the front lines to spotlighting what similar companies are doing about the challenges they face. This Week at Work brings you the conversations that matter most to HR professionals and business leaders like you. Brought to you by AIM Employers Association and Ogletree Deacons, live every Thursday morning. This is your opportunity to connect with their experts and ask your burning questions. So what's keeping you up at night? Let's face it together now on This Week at Work.
All right, welcome back, everyone. This week, Fred Falker is back with us, a fan favorite, one of my favorite people, always such a fan favorite for our AIM members. Fred, good morning. Welcome back to the program. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. It's a little bit cold today, but it's good seeing you and Bert, and it feels like old home week for me. It seems like this is the one I get to do the most, but it's always a treat. So I'm not going to wing it today, but it's going to be winged.
Well, I was thinking about your nickname. Do you remember the nickname that you shared with us from your grandchildren, what they call you?
Absolutely. It's G Dude.
G Dude. And I don't know if you have any new grandchildren, but I had a new grandbaby born this week.
Congrats.
And Eloise,
Congrats.
little Eloise, my fifth
Wow.
grandbaby. So I when she came on or she arrived and everything was going on, you popped into my mind, and it was not just a coincidence, I guess, since you were going to be on the program. So we're happy to have you back on the program, G Dude. Bert, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing well. I'm not at that phase of my life yet. I feel like I should be, but my kids aren't playing along with me.
You're
So
just looking the part. You're just
yeah,
looking the part.
yeah, exactly. That's right. Looking and feeling the part as I'm recovering from a little hand surgery. So
Oh yeah, that's unfortunate to hear. Am I going to see you tonight at the holiday party?
you will. I'm looking forward to it, Phil. It's always a great time. Ames Holiday Party is one of the highlights of the whole holiday season for me. You guys do a great job at the party. Your staff works so hard to pull off a flawless event every year. And like I said, I'm really looking forward to attending, seeing you, and seeing a lot of other AIM friends tonight.
Yeah, it will be a good time, but there's some interesting things going on at Target. I guess they're getting hit from both sides with boycotts, negative social media sentiment, legal challenges. Their store traffic is dropping. What do we know about that? There's all kinds of things happening there. You got any insight on that, Bert?
Yeah, nothing other than what's in the news. It seems like Target, Home Depot is also getting hit with boycotts, and yeah, just all kinds of uncertainty out there.
Well, I think it all does wrap together in what we want to talk with Fred about, and how employers are able to bring all their employees together, not just any one group or segment of their employee workforce, but all their employees together as one group. And I love hearing Fred's take on it. He's always got a fresh view, and we're going to get to that in just a minute, Fred. But at first, I want to get to lawyer on the clock. Are you ready, Bert?
I'm ready, Phil.
All right, Nick, pull that lever.
Curious about a case that could wreck your workplace? Lucky for you, we have a lawyer on the clock.
So, Phil, the first one I'm going to talk about today is that unless you've been living under a rock in the HR world, you are probably aware, just like I've been aware, of the fact that SHRM is involved in a pretty significant lawsuit going on. And this lawsuit was brought by a former employee of SHRM. She describes herself as a brown-skinned Egyptian Arab woman. She worked as a senior instructional designer, and she sued SHRM back in 2022 for race and color discrimination and retaliation. She specifically said that her supervisors, quote unquote, systematically favored white employees, and that after she complained internally, she faced retaliation, including being excluded from meetings, and then eventually she was fired. This case is pending out in Colorado in federal court, and the case is going to trial this month. Right now, they're fighting over whether SHRM, whether evidence of SHRM's quote unquote expertise in HR can be excluded as evidence during trial.
Now,
And
Bert, I don't know what resources you have available on that. Now, I had heard, and I've only seen some things that have been posted in the media, that SHRM is actually trying to say that they cannot be held accountable as an HR an organization of expertise in HR.
That's right. That's what SHRM is trying to argue.
Okay, just on the surface of that, to me, not being a lawyer, that seems ridiculous. That's exactly what they are. That'd be like Ogletree saying, well, you can't hold us accountable for being a law organization. We're not a law organization. We just employ lawyers and we help people with legal issues.
Yeah, I think I have not read any of the briefing yet, but this would be probably what would be filed as it's what's called a motion in limine to limit the evidence. And my hunch is that SHRM is arguing that evidence of their HR expertise should be excluded so that they're not held to a heightened standard compared to other employers.
Yeah,
that would be my.
And I might accept that. Yeah. I might accept that all employers are held to the same standard,
right,
regardless of your practice, for sure.
Yeah, and that's my hunch as to what they're arguing in that one. So that's one for us to keep an eye on there.
Yeah. Well, we'll keep everyone up to date. I got a lot of interest in following that. We have a lot of friends that work with the SHRM organization, and I know they're all of good mind and good heart in what they're doing. And I don't hold everyone accountable for the faults of others. If there's any faults at all done, I don't know.
Yeah. So, Phil, the other another topic I want to chat about, we've been talking in recent weeks. And by the way, I hope you had a nice Thanksgiving, Fred. I hope you had a nice Thanksgiving as well. But before Thanksgiving, before the holiday, we were talking about the economy and the job market. And in the private sector in recent weeks, it's been reported that U.S. employment decreased by 32,000 jobs in November. That's a net decrease, and that's the largest drop since March of 2023, according to ADP. We talked about that right before the holiday. And what's interesting is the number of mass layoffs that are taking place out there. In 2025 so far, U.S. job cuts have exceeded 1 million so far this year, and that's primarily in the technology and government sector. So you have to keep in mind that is in the government sector combined with technology. So some of this may be good, may not be good. We're not quite sure. But I do want to make sure that everybody's aware that that's going on. Now, interestingly, I did read a study. There was a study out from a group calling itself the Center for Immigration Studies. And one of the arguments that's been used over time in support of mass immigration and also for illegal immigration in certain circumstances is that there aren't enough American workers. And I think that what we're seeing in this jobs data is that there are American workers who are out there. This particular group, the Center for Immigration Studies, found that in 1960, there were 11.3% of working age American men who were out of the labor market. Today, that's more than 21% of working age American men who are not in the labor market. So that's nearly double from what it was 60 plus years ago. And so
That's a big percentage. I thought 11 was big. I mean, when you get into 20, 21%, that's a huge number of people out of the market. So I'm interested in where you're going here, Bert. Keep going.
Well, it's just the point is that the people who do support the mass immigration have used as an argument that there aren't enough American workers for the jobs. This group has found that there are plenty of American workers, in particular American men, who are out of the workforce. Now, I think you probably have to dig a little bit deeper than this study did, and this is something that we've talked about often, Phil, is that there may be a mismatch of where these American workers' skill sets are and the jobs that are out there. And
or desires. I would add desire to that as well. I think there's, often when we think of migrant workers, if I just think of migrant workers, those coming across to work, maybe labor-oriented, mowing, farming, these types of jobs that maybe don't pay like we would want them to pay, or they're physically demanding and may not be as desirable to work. It isn't that someone doesn't have a skill for that job. Those are low skill, but it's a desire or maybe an interest in doing.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point, Phil, and an important distinction to make. And that's kind of where I'm going. You're seeing a lot of these layoffs, like I said, in the government and tech sectors. And I don't think you're going to see those people from the government and tech sectors who are being laid off going and taking those jobs that may be filled by migrants. And so there is a mismatch going on out there, and I'm not sure what the remedy for it is, but that it's just interesting to talk about the layoffs compared to the immigration debate.
Yeah, and it also helps us control the inflation factors of just living. And some of those things may not necessarily show up in inflation numbers, some do. But when you're talking about the farming industry and then the cost of goods and groceries, that does show up. And if I have low cost migrant workers versus I'm going to have to pay more if I'm going to have a tech savvy person picking fruit, that's going to cost more because it's so less desirable. We wouldn't want that inflation factor either, and we'd be screaming as well about that.
Yeah, it's as they say, Phil, it's complicated.
You know what I say, Bert? It's simply complicated.
Yeah, there you go. So one other one for you, Phil, I'll just talk about it really, really quickly, is that the National Labor Relations Board is nearing a return to full function. Just yesterday, the U.S. Senate Labor Committee approved the nomination 12 to 11 along party lines of Boeing, former Boeing or current Boeing Labor Counsel Scott Mayer to serve on the board. That would restore a Republican majority of 2 seats at the board to 1 Democrat seat at the board. They would have a quorum of 3, and hopefully things would start moving at the NLRB. I think we've talked in recent weeks that the EEOC is also set to ramp up. And I think in 2026, which is just a few weeks away, we're going to start to see a lot more activity out of the NLRB and the EEOC. So stay tuned on this to see whether Mr. Mayer gets confirmed by the full Senate or not. I do believe he will get confirmed.
All right. Well, we'll stay seated for that. Anything else, Bert?
No, I think that's enough for today. I know everybody's real interested in hearing from Fred, and so let's kick it on over to other parts of the show, Phil.
All right. Well, before we do that, Nick, do we have a quick update from AAIME Hart?
All right, it's time to check in with the eyes and ears of AIM and everyone's favorite AI-driven HR advisor. Amy, take it away.
Thanks, producer Nick. Here's what's happening at AIM this week and why it matters, according to Amy. AIM just opened registration for our annual compensation benchmarking survey. With wages still on the rise and job openings holding strong, this is your chance to see how your pay compares and where you might need to adjust to stay competitive. Also this week, heads up for payroll teams. The IRS just released new guidance on 2025 fringe benefits and payroll tax limits. That means changes are coming to FSA, commuter, and retirement plan limits. And it's time to start preparing for those January payroll updates. Why it matters. Between tight labor markets and tax changes, your comp and benefits strategy needs to be both competitive and compliant. AIM has tools to help you on both fronts, from real-time pay data to compliance support for year-end planning. All right, so that's what's new, what's next, and what matters. All according to AAIME.
All right, welcome back, and it is great to be with you today, Fred Falker. Fred is a wonderful guest of the program and a significant friend of AIM. Our members love hearing from you, Fred, and I'm so happy to talk about culture and employee care. But is it more the same old, or are you seeing something different out there? Welcome back.
Thanks, Phil. I'm seeing much of the same thing. There is probably a lot more attention being paid to culture these days, but it seems to me rarely do leaders actually get around to changing a culture. You hear lots of announcements, lots of people come into organizations and say, we're going to do this. Lots of declarations are being made, and there are efforts being made, but it seems as if we want to overcomplicate this business of changing culture. And I think in part it's because we don't understand what it is, and we're not willing to do what it takes to kind of create that culture change. So one quick thing about our program today is that this is not fast. That's simply a way to get people to think about it and say, hey, let's do it fast. Well, we can't do it fast. And I think that's the central thing about changing culture. We need more commitment and a greater understanding of what it actually takes to do that.
So, Fred, when we say we're seeing more of the same old, is that maybe an outcome that it's because it is slow and it does take a lot to turn this ship, so it feels like the same old, or is it really we haven't moved the needle? What in your view and the organizations you're working with, can you shed some insight on that?
I think we've simply never understood what changing a culture looks like. You know, it's one of those things. It's simple conceptually, but it is absolutely not easy. You know, one of the things that I heard years ago, the job of leaders is to introduce, operationalize, and sustain values, and the same would be true in terms of culture. So we've got to introduce it, and most leaders and most organizations and people working in the OD department and HR do a pretty good job of introducing, this is what we're going to do, this is what we want to do. Where we fail is that we almost never operationalize. And we'll have a blitz, we'll do some training, we'll hire a consultant or a training firm, we'll come in and we'll do this and we'll talk about it. And then 6 months later, when something else comes up, we will go back to what we've been doing. Now, a big part of the problem is that we don't understand what culture change actually looks like. We think culture change is putting up posters, making declarations, having a new mission statement, creating values, and none of that changes the culture. Policies don't change the culture. The culture changes when the behavior of the employees in that culture changes. If we understood that culture is something that we feel, it's something that we experience. When you walk into a great organization, you know almost immediately you are in that place. You know that not because of what's on the wall, not because of what the CEO says, you know it because of how employees treat each other and treat visitors and guests. We can run into a great employee in a horrible place, but you don't confuse that person with the culture of the organization. So when you walk into a place that feels good, Employees take care of each other. They see each other. They notice each other. What senior leadership does is align with those ideas, and people have opportunities to grow and develop. You feel that. And so we don't do that. We think that it's going to be mechanical, and it allows maybe people like me to come in and give you mechanical solutions and tell you that it's easy to do. When I do 1, 2, 3, and if you do these 3 things, you will have culture change, and you will not. You will have another one of those times where here we go again. Who have they brought in this time?
Yeah.
Culture takes a while. Every leader listening to this program and every leader who hopefully will listen to it knows that sense of, we've tried this before. We come out and say we want to change the culture, and employees say, right. We have to overcome that, and that didn't happen overnight. It didn't happen with a poster. It didn't happen with a declaration. That is persistence and consistency of behavior on the part of leaders. The job of leaders is to create the conditions that create a place that people want to be in.
Yeah.
But that didn't happen because Phil or Bert changes or Fred changes. It happens when they start changing and seeing each other. If we don't make the time for them to do that, if we don't say that that's permissible, we don't give them a why to do that, well, then we will fail. What we typically do is we do a great job of, again, announcing. We do a good job of changing 1 or 2 or 3 policies that make it look like we're making effort. And these things are good things. There's nothing bad about getting rid of a policy that excludes people. Nothing bad about getting rid of a policy that makes it unfair for some employees. But that didn't change the culture. When employees get that, they say, we should have had that a long time ago, but thank you. But nothing changes. If
So
our
what are
culture
some
was
of, Fred,
toxic,
what
when
are
it
some
started,
of, if I can just interrupt
absolutely.
and try and get to what some of the listeners here are asking, or what are some of the daily changes a leader should be like? What should we look for a leader to do differently on a daily basis, recognizing it's going to be small and maybe unnoticeable early, but what are those things that people should do differently in an effort to change the culture?
Well, I think the toughest part is changing how we interact with our employees. So for some leaders, they do a great job of seeing people, connecting to them, relating to them, being human with them, seeing them as human beings. And some of us, frankly, we're not wired to do that very well. And that group of leaders just have to work much, much harder at doing this. We have to be aware that the time that we spend being human with humans is critical, but it's not much time. And that's what I try to help leaders understand. In every meeting and every time you sit down with an employee, you've got to see them. How you lead your direct reports in large organizations becomes huge. We can say we want culture to change, but we don't change how people are rewarded. We don't change those things, then we don't get that change.
Yeah. One of the things, Fred, that I often do when I'm talking about culture, but it's a way that we live our life here at AIM. And I use this statement, and you have seen it before, and so has Bert. I use it when I hire people. I use it as I'm leading my managers. I use it when I see examples of things not happening correctly. And I always challenge, and it's very interesting how many leaders, and I'm going to challenge our listeners right now to think about, what is this answer? And if you are not the leader, the top leader of the organization, I want you to think about the answer to this question in the context of, what is this answer for your business, not for you as an individual, because it takes all the leaders to make the change. Now, it may start with a leader, but it takes all the leaders to make the change to shape the culture. And I talk about it, and that's why I joked a little bit about leadership. It's simply complicated. The book I wrote several years ago, and this is not a promotion of the book. This is a very critical question that you live by. And that is, I ask leaders, what is your promise? Now, Bert, if you think about it for Ogletree, and Fred, you think about it for the businesses you have worked for, what is your business promise? What does the leader of that organization promise every employee? Now, promises don't get broken, right? Promises are, we're going to run through the ends of the earth to deliver the promise. What is the promise that your business delivers to every single employee? You come to work here, and here's your promise. This is the promise for AIM, and anyone can borrow it. The problem and the challenge is delivering it is really very difficult. And there's times we don't get it right, and we have to come back. And that promise here at AIM is no company will value, care for, develop, and treat you with more respect than AIM Employers Association. I'm going to repeat that. No company will value, care for, develop, and treat you with more respect than AIM Employers Association. That is a promise that I expect every leader to live every day. And that's said differently than these are our value statements, and we put that poster on the wall. Because when we're out of alignment, I call it out. I say, is that a demonstration of how we value? Well, how are we developing that person that isn't quite performing the way we want to? How are we caring for that person with empathy? How are we respecting everyone when we develop this policy, make these decisions, celebrate or not celebrate? It penetrates everything that we do.
I think that's just absolutely critical. And that the idea of a promise certainly includes that the employees have to know what that promise is. Then we have to allow them to hold us accountable when we don't make it. When you get senior leaders in an organization to own whatever the changes they want to make and tell employees they own the change, then they invite judgment, they invite evaluation, but the chances are then they are going to stand by the promise they made. It becomes serious when in fact we say this is the culture we own. We're going to hire an HR director or a VP or an OD person or somebody in the inclusion space. We're going to bring that person on. But this is a promise that we are making to you when we make it, and we own it as a team or as a group. So that's the entire senior leadership group. Everything changes. When that thing is discussed at every senior leadership meeting, if only 5 minutes, when it shows up in every report, when the CEO talks about it, those organizations are very different because now all of the other leaders start talking about those things.
I would agree.
Fred, I get into an interesting debate with one of my kids, and you see, I'll use the sports analogies here, and the coach or the general manager, they're not on the field, and they don't perform. They're not part of the team. But a lot of times when you see a team struggling, they're not fulfilling those promises. It's the guy at the top, that general manager or the coach that gets fired. Like I said, they're not on the field, but I think that's more of a signal to show everyone underneath that, hey, something's wrong with the culture here. That we need a change at the top to change the culture.
That's
we
right.
Need somebody
Bert,
who's
that's a great point.
We need somebody who's going to live it and show it and try to get the players buy-in. And if that's not happening, we're going to have to change the culture because, again, that coach isn't out on the field. There's something else intangible that's going on there.
Yeah.
I, that's
And the
yeah,
other thing I would add to that is that it's just never done, right? If I think about a workforce that's experiencing, let's just say, a natural turnover rate, 15, maybe even 20% in certain years for different reasons, that means your culture by the addition and subtraction of every individual that comes in and out changes instantly. That new person arrives, the old person left, and it's constantly changing. So culture is never done in that way. And I think often as managers or leaders, we think of things in the terms of projects. I'm going to put my time and attention
that's right.
towards this year. And I'll
That's
see that with employees or employers that are doing employee opinion and engagement surveys. And I do a lot of work in one year. And then the next year, when we're working with them, they say, oh, we think we've done pretty good. We're focusing over here now.
that's right.
I'm like, no, culture can never stop because it's evolving as every human in our business is evolving.
That is right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Culture ebbs and flows. And if you don't sustain it, then it will sink to its lowest level. Culture changes, but not because of what we do typically. And that's sad, because the truth is leaders can change the culture, but they have to put the work in
Fred,
to do that.
do you have time for one more question here, Fred?
I do.
Yeah. What should leaders be measuring or paying attention to that numbers alone can't capture?
I think you have to get at how employees experience the organization, and you do that simply by asking them questions, some of which appear on most engagement surveys, but some of which don't. And they are certainly one that does my leader care about me? That becomes important. But I don't have a sense of belonging or believe I'm in the right place for me if I don't believe that what I do here matters. That is part of what leaders help me understand, that if I'm doing this job, it is important. I am important. Do I have a sense of that what we do as an organization is a good thing? Am I proud to be an employee at AIM or Ogletree? Or am I proud of this organization? If I don't have that, then I don't belong, because I don't feel the organization. Do I have a sense of ownership or a sense of agency? Am I able to contribute at the highest level that I can? It's always going to be different, but when I have ownership, that means I am investing. So we talk about discretionary effort. That's an investment. That's not, if I'm investing, I'm owning. Do I care about other people here? I don't feel a sense of belonging if I don't care about my coworkers and colleagues. And if I don't care about them because we don't have time to care about each other, then that reflects back to senior leadership saying we want this or we want that, but not making it possible for it to happen. Obviously, I have to feel safe. So psychological safety becomes important, but we need employees to understand it's not the organization's job to make them feel safe. It's their job to feel safe, and those two things work together. So we've got to have both of those. And the last thing is just that sense of belonging. Is this the place for me for right now? It may not be the place for me 10 years from now or 5 years from now, but right now, I own this place. It's mine. I am going to be proud of my time here forever. When we can create those conditions, and we can measure all of this, because we simply ask people,
Yeah.
you rate this. And we'll have a score at the end that says most of our employees feel that this is a place that they belong. And very quickly, let's make sure that listeners understand that in most organizations, not a lot of people feel that they are excluded, but most people don't feel that they belong. Most people are right in the middle. This is an okay, not bad, pretty good place to work. It's fair. It feels equitable. That's not the culture that you want. And if you do, then you're changing all of your employees, yourself, everything that you claim you are short. If being okay is where you want to be in culture, then most organizations are frankly already okay.
Well, we wouldn't want equipment that's just okay.
That is right.
Right. We wouldn't want just an okay piece of equipment that, most of the time it's okay.
That is
I mean,
right.
we wouldn't make that accept that result with that investment, and our employees are our largest financial investment most of the time. And so we want better than okay. Fred, I love talking to you. I know you're going to have a great holiday, and I can't wait to see you again soon. How can our listeners find you, Fred? How can they reach out to you to learn more?
They can find me at fred.falker at falkerconsulting.group.
There you go. Fred.Falker at falkerconsulting.group. Or you can always reach out to us here at AIM, and we're going to be happy to connect you to our friend, Fred Falker. Bert, I would look forward to seeing you tonight. It is going to be the coldest day of the year yet tonight. What a great day to kick off the holiday season and celebration. And we will be back here next week, 7:30. I look forward to seeing all of our friends over at the MAC tonight. Until then, go out and let's be nice to someone and change that culture. Take care.
Thank you once again for tuning in to This Week at Work. If you enjoy the show, please like it, share it, and make sure it's on your calendar every week. Ask your burning questions anytime and let us know what topics you'd like us to cover. Just go to hrask.org and be sure to leave a review wherever you catch our show to help other HR pros find us as well. We'll see you next week when we discuss what's happening this week at work.